Hello and welcome. I'm Kevin Wellner, Director of the National Education Policy Center at the University of Colorado Boulder, NEPC. I'm very glad to welcome you today to the annual Bunkum Awards presented in 2012 for the most compellingly shoddy educational research we reviewed in 2011. The word Buncombe comes from a county in North Carolina, Buncombe. Buncombe County produced a congressman, Representative Felix Walker, who gained infamy back in 1820 for delivering a particularly meaningless, irrelevant, and seemingly endless speech. NEPC and the interdisciplinary group of scholars who work with us believe that the taxpayers who finance public education, as well as the children who attend our schools, deserve smart policies based on sound evidence. Unfortunately, a lot of so-called think tanks that advocate for favored policies in the field of education are producing something much different: half-baked opinions supported by weak evidence or no evidence at all. In other words, bunkum. The Bunkum Awards are based on our Think Twice reviews, written by independent scholars all across the United States. Today, we present the highlights, or more accurately, the lowlights, of the most notable nonsense, confusion, and disinformation that we reviewed in 2011. It is my pleasure to announce today our grand prize winner and our special Get a Lifetime Achievement Award. But before announcing those, I want to briefly acknowledge our 4 runners-up and to note that more information about these runners-up is available at nepc.colorado.edu. Our 4th runner-up, the Discovering the Obvious While Obscuring the Important Award, goes to a think tank called Third Way for a report titled Incomplete: How Middle-Class Schools Aren't Making the Grade. Our 3rd runner-up, the If Political Propaganda Counted as Research Award, is given to the Center for American Progress and the Broad Foundation for a report titled Charting New Territory: Tapping Charter Schools to Turn Around the Nation's Dropout Factories. Our 2nd runner-up, the If Bernie Madoff Worked in School Finance Award, is given to ConCan for a report titled Spend Smart: Fix Our Broken School Funding System. And our 1st runner-up, the Mirror Image, What You Read is Reversed Award, is given to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for Learning About Teaching. Congratulations to all our runners-up. None of you took the easy road and simply let the evidence guide your work. Again, to learn more about our winners and runners-up, please visit nepc.colorado.edu. And now, it is my pleasure to announce our grand prize winner. The Cancer is Underrated Award is given to the Progressive Policy Institute for Going Exponential: Growing the Charter School Sector's Best. The Progressive Policy Institute deserves our top award for combining a weak analysis, agenda-driven recommendations, and the most bizarre analogy we have seen in a long time. This report spoke to us in ways unmatched by any other publication. The report's authors seemed to think it was a good idea, in a report advocating the exponential growth of their favorite charter schools, a good idea to compare charters to delightful things such as viruses and cancer. As our reviewer pointed out, the report never quite explains how the growth in cancer and viruses applies to the growth of charter schools. But even if the authors had somehow managed to do so, we can't help but feel that the comparison is a bit tone-deaf. Exponential growth in the natural world, after all, is not always desirable. It can, in fact, be quite deadly. But even beyond this analogy, the report suffers from an almost complete lack of acceptable scientific evidence or original research supporting the policy suggestions. It presents 9 lessons that are little more than common and vague aphorisms from the business world. Yet it fails to make the case that the suggestions or references are relevant to school improvement. But it is also my pleasure to announce a special Get a Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. Matthew Ladner. This is a first because NEPC has never before bestowed an individual with a Bunkum Award. But we've never before had someone campaign for one, and yes, Dr. Ladner has done so. And we've never before found someone with an individual record of Bunkum-worthy accomplishments that just cries out for recognition. So this year, we are honoring Matthew Ladner, an advisor to former Florida Governor Jeb Bush's advocacy organization, the Foundation for Excellence in Education. Dr. Ladner's body of bunk work is focused on his shameless hawking of what he and the governor call the Florida formula for educational success. Success. Well, as our reviewers have explained, Dr. Ladner would be less deceptive if he were selling prime Florida swampland. The basic Ladner argument is that Florida NAEP scores have increased during a time period when Florida policy has included things like school choice and grade retention, so it must be those policies that are the cause. Not one to get hung up on the unpleasant intricacies of establishing sound causal inference, Dr. Ladner has become the Johnny Appleseed of unsound education policies. One cannot, however, deny Dr. Ladner's salesmanship. Gullible lawmakers throughout the nation have been pulling out their wallets and buying into his plan to hold back low-scoring third graders, despite clear evidence that such policies will lead to increased dropout rates. Our judges were particularly impressed recently when Ladner attributed Florida's, quote, hitting the wall, unquote, drop in NAEP scores to a collapse in the housing bubble and other, quote, impossible to say, unquote, factors. Buncombe's have been awarded for far less impressive an accomplishment than this sort of heads I win, tails you lose use of evidence. So Matt Ladner, this Buncombe's for you. And so, with our special recognition to Matt Ladner, that wraps up this year's Bunkum Awards. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to visit us at nepc.colorado.edu to find out what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly in the world of think tank research about education. For the NEPC, I'm Kevin Wellner.